Welcome in everyone, I'm Dr. Jankovic, and currently I am stuck at the bottom of this pit. As you can see in my hotbar, my elytra is completely broken, and I did not think to check it before I tried to fly out of here. But that's besides the point. Currently, we have a whole bunch of ugly netherrack platforms holding us up when we want to get stuff out of our storage system. Let me tell you, today that is going to change. By the way, this is episode 17 of Paperhats Season 3. I guess it's about time we install an emergency exit. Okay, we're all good to go. I got my elytra repaired. What you didn't see in the last episode is I actually broke my Silk Touch pickaxe.
But I guess he's been putting fuel in it before he smelts. Okay, we're not going to talk about it.
But I've made a new one, just a diamond one, and something I've really needed this whole season. An ender chest in my inventory. And moving on from shenanigans, we have a lot on our plate today. As promised in the last episode, of course, the last episode was building this storage system, getting it functional, and making sure it works correctly. If you haven't seen that episode, I would definitely go recommend it. It was episode 16. In this episode, we want to make every bit of it presentable, and I've got a lot of cool ideas for it. Number one, we have to work on the presentation flying in. Obviously, we have these really nice snowy peaks, but beyond that, it's not really much. So we have to sort of either incorporate the gradient onto this wall, which I think I'm going to do a little bit of, and also terraform these snowy peaks to follow these edges here. This here will be a little bit of empty space, but that will either just be random textures, rocks hanging out of the wall, or we could eventually put a build there, but we're not that far yet. Another thing to this build is we need to make the actual pit itself a lot better looking. Currently in my mind, I'm thinking spiral staircase minus that little platform there. I really like the idea of like a ladder I can climb up and get to the platform. Of course, we all have elytras, so I mean, we're just gonna fly most of the time, but it's for decorative purposes. But these main platforms, I'm thinking there's a way to have an entire platform that's flat for each level, and also have a spiral staircase in addition to that to where you can get to each level. Currently, I am very much undecided on the floor here. I've thought about doing void glass, where you dig all the way down to bedrock or deep slate, spreading out layers of glass so it looks like a void and you can't see what's underneath. Or we could go with an unfinished dwarven mine vibe, where there's like rocks and excavations going on down at the bottom, ore veins seeping out into all that mix. One thing's for sure though, I definitely want it to be a little bit deeper, because this is an impressive pit, but it could be a little more deeper and a little more impressive. So whatever we build, we're gonna dig at least 10 more levels down. As time has gone on, I've really impressed myself with what I can build these days. So I don't do this often, but I'm actually going to template this build with netherrack. Instead of placing a whole bunch of spruce and things like that to try to get it in one go, I'm going to build the platforms and spiral staircase out of netherrack. I'm also going to use netherrack to lay out where the snowy peaks are going to end up and blend into this mountain. And we may add additional snowy peaks on this side of things. So instead of having to rework real materials as we go, we can get the shape worked out with netherrack, and that's super easy to remove. So it's just going to be very, very helpful in the building process. Beyond that, I'm about to fire up the stream at twitch.tv/drjankovic. If you're not already following me there, I do encourage you to do so. You'll get notified every time I go live, and it's always a really fun time just chatting and chilling out, making builds and preparing for builds and such. Would love to see you there. Guys, what did you think about that time lapse? Believe me when I say a ton of work was poured into that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But first, let me show you around. Now, looking at this empty field here, this is eventually going to be a brown mushroom forest. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there soon. Over here, facing away from that field, we have our entrance into the mushroom forest, and then we also have our path up to the storage system. Now, I know this is kind of a hard transition between paths, but we're going to get there. Once we start working on the brown mushroom forest, I'm going to make sure I blend all these paths together and make them all look nice, but I wanted to really focus on making the storage system look good for now. Coming up the path, though, you have a couple of mountains, one on the left, one on the right. Those are just two things to give you something to look at as you're coming up the path, or even flying in. I really wanted this storage system to be elytra friendly, and I think they serve that purpose. Also, this is sort of supposed to be like a dwarven mine shaft type thing, so I think if that was the case, the less people that know about it, the better. So these mountains actually serve as like something to hide it behind. It would make sense that this hole here is hidden in the hills, hidden in the mountains, so I think it all ties together pretty good. And before I look right past it, there's a balcony at the end of this path. Now, I wanted to install this, so you can always walk up to the end of it, look down, and admire the view from here. It looks pretty awesome. There's really no excellent way to get down. Now, on the Paperhats server, we are rich. We have multiple elytra between all of us, so it's not really a problem using our elytra, but I think in the future I will probably put some emergency ender pearls in that barrel, maybe some up there, or I can even make a ladder look good. I need to do something before somebody, flies down here with a broken elytra and now they're stuck, and it's a whole thing. Trust me, that stuff happens on here more than you think. But to stay on topic, one of the interesting things about this is I actually didn't plan this in creative at all. Everything you see here and everything you saw in the time lapse was me thinking about things, using what I've learned in the past to sort of make educated guesses on what would look good. And honestly, I think I got lucky on a lot of things, but you can sort of see how I put things together. The reason I didn't particularly plan this one in creative mode was this is sort of a special project. I have never in my life on Minecraft built anything this massive, especially in one video. This was a massive project. If I had to estimate, it probably took me about 15 to 20 hours to get it done. And it really got me to thinking, if I was to design this in creative mode, turn it into a schematic, have to gather all the resources, worry about all that, it would probably have taken me longer than just sort of experimenting on this large scale. And to be honest with you, it wasn't all freehand. I did use Lightmatica in a way. So the spiral staircases, originally, I was thinking of making one semicircle, just one level, but I accidentally built this level to this level in a quarter of a turn. So then I thought, that might be an idea. So I took a schematic of this to here and then just rotated it and put it here. So all 4 turns of this staircase are actually identical. It makes this really cool effect because from over there you can get up here, and from down here you can get up there. And it's really hard to explain, but this place is actually not bad at all to navigate. There's sort of a lot of options. If you need something right over here, you can go up the staircase. If you need something below you, there is always a ladder to get down. And I also cut out the floor and made extra long ladders so you can get all the way to the bottom. So there's always a way to walk around, climb a ladder, throw an ender pearl. This is actually a very nice storage system, and I thought it would be a little bit more annoying than I had hoped, but it turned out really well. I'm super happy with it. I just realized you guys have probably been calling me an idiot for the past 5 minutes. I forgot to make that look good. All right, got that resolved. I think it looks great. I used some of the copper like the other parts of the build, and I even introduced some new blocks, just the wool blocks up there. It's a little bit out of place, but I think it looks fine. So that little time lapse there was about an hour, reduced down to about 15 seconds. I can't remember the exact number of shulkers that was. To be honest, that pile did not look very impressive at all. But I believe it was over 100 shulkers. Well over 100. I think it was more like 130, something like that. Don't underestimate it. It has been a nightmare. Problem number one, there's just a ton of items going through this thing. Problem number two, the thing that I said about sorting out the shulkers that, you know, I had a whole bunch of items through, I completely forgot about that, and I just put absolutely everything through this. So my overflow keeps getting filled up with stone and different types of terracotta and things that I had a whole bunch of. So overflow is a real problem. Secondly, I think there is a very, very long-term issue with Minecraft about items going over chunk borders. Some things just don't go into the hoppers like they should. Sometimes 2 or 3 items get pushed over here when they should have been dropped into a chest, which isn't a huge deal. Once we get through all of the shulkers that are currently being sorted, we shouldn't have that problem anymore because, I mean, how many shulkers in the future are we really going to dump into this thing? I wouldn't say more than 10. So once this thing gets sorted out, it's going to be really smooth. Now, if you're wondering how long this thing has been sorting for, well, let me tell you. It has been well over 20 hours. I bet it's going to take about 30 hours. I could not have predicted this, but this is just insane how long this thing's been running. But it's been doing a pretty good job. Earlier, I mentioned I had a whole bunch of bulk items like this. We have, what, 15 shulkers of cobblestone, 10 shulkers of stone. All that was just getting piled up in the overflow. Slowly but surely, this thing will get done. I am so excited for that to happen. And we're actually on the home stretch. We only have a little under a chest of shulkers to go. It's just, oh man, this is such a large amount of items to sort. I can't believe it. Moving on, however, you're probably wondering why I'm just standing in the middle of a random lush cave. Well, that is because we have dug out this pit here. This took a very, very long time, and I recorded pretty much all of it, so here it is. Yeah, now we have this massive pit to build whatever we want. It should be pretty fun to decorate this thing and put a few extra things down here. Now, I wasn't originally planning on having a pit like this, but it happened and I went through with it and we got it dug out. By the way, huge thanks to Norsey Kelsey for helping me dig this thing out. She was a real big help on the TNT machine we made up, and she also did just a lot of manual digging with a pickaxe. So huge thanks to her. Now, I have been doing a lot of creative mode planning for this build. I have a lot of ideas for things to put up there around on the walls and things. But where we're standing here, you probably won't see for much longer, because what I'm going to do is do void glass, where you put layers of glass separated by some layers of air, and eventually it just looks like a big void. And I think what I'm going to try to do is mix in some in-rods in between the layers, so it kind of looks like outer space or something like that. But I won't ruin the surprise. Unfortunately, this is all the time I have left for this episode, so you're gonna have to find out in the next episode how we decorate this pit here, and I will also let you guys know how the storage system is handling all those items. It should be done by then. But guys, I'm gonna quit rambling on. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see. It absolutely helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. I will see you guys next time for episode 18 of Paperhats Season 3. Y'all have a good one. Thanks so much.